All right, we have the second semifinals for our Dutch Magic Hub. If you want to join us, there's a link in the description. You might still be able to join up for the month of July, but you'll have to be fast, like within at least the first week, preferably sooner. I don't know when Edo starts exactly. I think it's at the start of next week, which is going to be the 5th, so make sure you sign up before that, and you'll have a shot at maybe getting on camera. We have on the left Rashid. He is playing Abzan Maverick. He was the third seed for our semifinals, and on the right we have Stepan. He is our second seed playing Bant Euro Stoneblade. Right now the Stoneblade deck looking more like Maverick than the actual Maverick deck. That is a terrific start. Noble Hierarch, Birds of Paradise, and a Stoneforge Mystic coming out here, right? Yeah, I wasn't. I didn't quite catch what that was from Rashid, but it got dazed. So that's a pretty good start from Stepan here. Now, I would imagine this is somewhat favored for Maverick. Normally, as we get second Stoneforge Mystic, finding a better skull, the Maverick deck should, in theory, be able to deploy more threats. Now, I would imagine Stoneblade doesn't have a Terminus to miracle into, but maybe it does. Regardless, this doesn't look like the best of starts for Rashid here. He's not out of it yet. He still has plenty of cards in hand. He could just keep deploying threats, answer this Battle Skull, and he might still be in a good spot. I didn't catch what the first Stoneforge Mystic fetched, actually. It's a terrific start to this cast. Like, you'd think I'd be doing this for years, right? But no, it's fine. I think Stepan, aside from Battle Skull, probably fetched a Jite if he was fearing Maverick. I mean, it could not have been on this radar, but Jite is definitely gonna be a very, very effective card against Rashid here. Is currently sitting on Bayou, Savannah, and a Nurturing Peatland. We have the Better Skull coming out from Stepan here. And despite missing a couple land drops here, finds a land this turn, but is still in a really good spot. Like, going Noble Hierarch Burst of Paradise is pretty good. We have Tundra coming out for Stepan here. This is probably not a game where Rashid can reliably use Wasteland, I would imagine. Like with the 2 basic, the 2 mana dorks, getting rid of a singular Tundra is not really going to be the most exciting thing you could do. Sword of Fire, nice. Just generic, really good card. Cards for chip on here. Gonna try and equip the sword to the germ. Looks like he is successful. Now, fire and ice, not really the relevant protection against Abzan. But still just solid removal, card advantage. Incredible threat here. Yeah, that decay is gonna have to take care of the germ here. Germ attacking for 7 here with the exalted trigger. Yeah, germ gets taken out. And yeah, she just needs to find something, anything. Okay, maybe something better than a Dryad Arbor. Green Sun Zenith might help him find that thing. Sun Zenith for 2. Is thinking there's no way he plays a main deck collector, right? Like that is just something we shouldn't be expecting here, should we? It's important to note that this is being played without Modern Horizons 2. At the start of this league, Modern Horizons 2 was not yet legal. So, in order to avoid confusion, it was decided that throughout the remainder of the league there would be no Modern Horizons 2. Starting next month, there will be. Now, in that particular meta, I would not expect a main deck collector oof. That sounds incredibly greedy. Like, even as a one-off, as a Green Sun Zenith target, I would imagine that's not something you want in the main. Just side it. And again, I'm not a Maverick player. Rashid is definitely a Maverick player. I've seen him play it for a while. That is an oof. Okay, I stand corrected. That is absolutely a collector oof. That's gonna just turn off the Batter Skull. It's gonna turn off the Sword of Fire and Ice. They're just on the field, nothing on them. No way to actually equip them. And yeah, that's a terrific bit of tech. Just Maverick just showing how fantastic of a toolbox it is. You'd think that something called Stoneblade is gonna be the better control deck, but not necessarily. I mean, especially a blue-white variant of Stoneblade. Like if you're playing that guy Ale, it's technically a form of Stoneblade. If you really want to get technical about it, but that's more mid-range deck. But in this matchup, I would definitely expect Stepan to be the more controlling player, but it's not looking like that right now. That oof just value. Now we do get a Stoneforge Mystic with 2 Exalted Triggers attacking Rashid here. We also get a fetch coming out for a Tropical Island. The Tropical and Tundra look like the Vintage Masters versions. They are proxies. We do allow proxies for our monthly leagues. A third Stoneforge Mystic coming out for Stepan. Stepan, I think, has realized that this is in fact Maverick. Decides to go for the Jitte, but like he can't actually equip it. It's nice that he has it, but what are you gonna do with it? You're gonna put it in. He did put it into play. He cast it. He didn't use Stoneforge Mystic. I think that really matters. Yeah, that main deck oof that I was decrying is actually putting in some work right now. A Hex Drinker coming out for a sheet. 1, 2, 3 mana. That is now a 4/4 with protection from instants. What is she gonna fetch? Yeah, that Hex Drinker is looking pretty dang scary here. Now, he isn't going to be able to attack with it yet, but it is already a blocker able to block the Stoneforge Mystic. Even with the Exalted triggers, the Stoneforge Mystic is only a 3/4. Stepan could decide to attack with the Birds of Paradise. Get in for 2. A third Noble Hierarch coming out from Stepan here. Yeah, now that Stoneforge Mystic is actually big enough to not get blocked by the Hex Drinker. So that's a little unfortunate. Next turn, that Hex Drinker is going to be a big ol' 6/6. Is that a 6/6 or an 8/8? I forget. Let me look that up real quick. It's gonna be a big boy, at least that's for sure, or girl. I don't know. Thing, snake, something. And Rashid seems to be thinking about whether or not he actually, yeah, a 6/6 protection from everything. That's pretty good. Rashid seems to be thinking about whether or not he actually wants to put the mana in, which is fair enough. Because that is 4 mana, that does mean Rashid isn't really doing anything else here. And there are still 3 Noble Hierarchs on the side of Stepan here, and yeah. Yeah. We have Knight of the Reliquary coming out for Rashid here. That's gonna be a very, very nice blocker. Next turn, it could potentially toolbox some of the toolboxy Maverick cards. Though I'm not really sure what he could want for land against Stoneblade. Most likely just gonna be just another big threat. Did the Hex Drinker attack? Is that what is happening here? A second Knight of the Reliquary coming down. Going down to 8. So Rashid definitely has threats. He has threats for days. The Knights are both 4/4, it seems. I believe there's 2 fetches right now. Those get big really fast. They both get a fetch. Then you crack both the fetches. You could actually still crack the Nurturing peatland. So scary stuff. Some more scary stuff. We have Uro coming out from Stepan here. Going to 21. We have a Ponder coming out. And now this is a pretty interesting board state. I think Stepan still has the advantage somewhat, because Rashid is at 8, whereas Stepan is at 21. So that Birds of Paradise could, in theory, end this in 3 turns as it stands. Now, there is, of course, always the chance of a Swords to Plowshares coming out, which can take out the Collector Oof, enabling all the equipment. It could take out the at least one of the Knight of the Reliquaries if that becomes a thing. Because Rashid does have plenty of threat to swing back here. That Ponder is going to be a shuffle. Leave 1 card in hand. And it looks like next turn Stepan should be able to escape the Uro. No, actually, this turn already. The advantages of just starting off with 4 mana dorks. Yeah, that works. So Stepan going up to 24 as a pretty good threat slash blocker slash gain life. Like, the card does everything. It just does everything. It just works. We have Stoneforge Mystic attacking with 3 Exalted triggers. That is a 4/5 coming in. Seems Rashid willing to double block with both the Knight of Reliquaries, which means that one of them dies. I think that's probably gonna be worth it here. Because right now the thing that Rashid needs to worry about is his life total. Just try and keep it high, as high as possible. Give yourself the time to actually start chipping away at that 24 life. But it's gonna be hard. It's definitely gonna be hard. But he's not out of it yet. Definitely still has things he can do. Looks like he is sacking the Nurturing Peatland to draw a card. And ideally, find some sort of answer for the Uro here, because that thing will run away with this game. Stepan can easily attack with it without fearing any kind of, well, without too much retaliation here. Like, he most likely won't be dead on the backswing anytime soon, that's for sure. If Rashid decides to level up the Hex Drinker, he does have a free blocker for the Uro or the Stoneforge Mystic. With those attack, it would force Stepan to start attacking with the Birds of Paradise, which is definitely an option here. No, it seems we have Green Sun Zenith for 2. Or for 1. For 1? Yeah. What would that be for 1? What kind of one drops this Maverick. He might be going for some exalted triggers of his own. Now, notably, Green Sun Zenith only finds green creatures, so not gonna find a Mother of Runes here. That would have been amazing. Script Ranger, yeah, that makes sense. Give yourself a blocker against the birds, aside from just protecting your creatures here against anything that Sheva might try and throw out there. Just this is a solid pick here. Starting next turn, no, starting this turn, it could also help the Knight of the Reliquary just start growing. Because the Knight, I believe, is a 5/5 right now. But with a Script Ranger in play, that could grow to a. Oh, it's activate once each turn, so it's in theory a 9/9 in case it wanted to block the Uro with 3 exalted triggers. It would actually trade. She's gonna activate the Knight here. Getting a Gaia's Cradle. Now, he either has something in hand, or he's gonna pump the Hex Drinker as well. Which, that would actually be pretty good. Script Ranger gonna untap the Knight of the Reliquary. And I don't think he's gonna tap it a second time this turn. Because he could do that at instant speed. Just block, then tap. In theory, untap it again and tap it again. Knight of the Reliquary gets out of control really fast. Yeah, the Gaia's Cradle gonna up the Hex Drinker. So that is now a 6/6 with protection from everything. So it's a miniature Progenitus. It's a Pre-Genesis. Pre-Genitus. Whatever, you know what I mean. Sorts the Plowshares coming out from the sheet here. Gonna take care of that Uro. That's a great start. That's what you want to see. And like I said, Rashid's still in this, and just with one turn completely swings it back in his favor. Now, when I said Rashid wasn't exactly dead yet, well, neither is Stepan. He is still at 30 life. He still has 3 noble hierarchs on the field. But it's definitely looking a lot worse for him than it was looking for Rashid a few moments ago. We have the Hex Drinker and the Knight of the Reliquary attacking. And we go straight back to 18. Just like that. Just instantly back. One blue, that's gonna be Ponder. Now, what would Stepan's outs be here? It's probably gonna have to be just a straight up board wipe. Now, while I don't have Rashid's decklist yet, I do have Stepan's. And I don't see a board wipe here. At all. Just no board wipes in the 75. No, he does play Sorts the Plowshares, which is at least gonna be able to help him take care of the Knight of the Reliquary. But there is still a 6/6 protection from everything Hex Drinker there that is looking kind of scary. Like, at worst, Rashid still has a 3-turn clock. Protection from everything, also preventing any kind of blockers. So it's just really scary stuff. Skyclave Apparition coming out from Stepan here, I would imagine is going to take care of the Knight of Reliquary, but he could decide to go for the Collector Roof. I mean, he could decide to go for the Script Ranger or the Dryad Arbor, the Birds of Paradise. No, he couldn't go for the Dryad Arbor. Regardless, just because he has other options doesn't mean those are actually good options. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be the Knight of Reliquary here, just because he needs to take care of that clock. Now, it seems that Rashid is gonna untap the Knight in response, which I would assume... No, it could still be the Collector Oof. I think what Rashid is doing here is gonna find a Sajiri step. Not sure if he plays those. I'll try to get his deck list for the second game here. I got Stepan's list during this game. That is a Maze of If. So at least no Sajiri step in the main. May still have it in the side. I'll be sure to look at that in a bit. Maze of If definitely gonna be a good backup here, especially since Stefan is looking to abuse the fact that he has 3 Noble Hierarchs, which is essentially just rendered null. We have Ponder coming out from Stefan. Yeah, Exalted, not the greatest mechanic in the face of Maze of Ith, unfortunately. But they still make mana. They still make 3 colors of mana, so they're not completely dead. And does Stepan have a answer against the Maze of Ith? It does not look like it. So that Maze of Ith is gonna be a permanent answer to any kind of Exalted shenanigans here. And now it seems like Stepan is in a pretty bad spot. He did take care of one of Rashid's threats. Rashid is still at 8, but his clock is going to be faster here. Like, it's definitely on Stepan to find some sort of answer here. 3 mana, a second Uro. That helps. That is a good start. Had life a little bit. Now the Hex Drinker is going to be a 4-turn clock. And Stepan can most likely start looking to escape it and try and stabilize again. Now, he is lacking some cards to exile in his graveyard, so he'll need to rectify that somehow. But he's still here. Stepan is still here. Swinging with Hex Drinker. is of course going to connect. Very easy to connect when your creature is just entirely unblockable and pretty much unaffected by anything you're doing. Now, a Plague Engineer coming out from Rashid here. He might be worried about Wasteland and decide to just take away the Noble Hierarchs. I think that's the most likely outcome here. Just checking what all creature types are, it seems. And yeah, just not knowing your opponent's deck, you're gonna name the hierarchy. You're gonna name human or shaman. I would probably say human. Human has a potential of getting wow, drawing a blank here. Snapcaster Mage. There are no Snapcaster Mages, but again, these players don't know each other's deck lists, and it's probably safe to just take that shot. Maybe you get lucky. We have Brainstorm coming out from Stepan. Stepan actually is playing Wasteland. I'm sorry, I completely missed that. He is playing Wasteland, so he does have an out for the Maze of If. Which means that, yeah, no, you had to get rid of those Noble Hierarchs here. One of the disadvantages of having just an unsorted written list. My apologies about that. Stepan can still get rid of the maze. At the very least, he is filling up his graveyard nicely to start escaping Oro, even though that's not going to happen this turn, it seems. Unless he plays another land. Shuffle off the Ponder. So, what is it Stepan would like to see here? A second Skyclave Apparition or one of his, I believe, 2 remaining swords would be pretty nice here. I think it's time to take care of the Collector Oof on the Rashid's side of the field. Another Skyclave Apparition coming out. I think it's time for the Oof to go. Like the Plague Engineer did its thing. You shouldn't be too worried about that. Just take care of the Oof. Start using your equipment again. Not this turn, unfortunately, but just in general, you need some way of getting back in this game, and a Jitte, a Sword of Fire and Ice, a Better Skull, that's going to be your way to get back in this. And you need to do it fast, because that Hexdrinker is, once again, a 3-turn clock. Yeah, we see the Oof go. All the equipment is now back. But will it be enough? The players seem to be not sure what's happening. I think Stepan had a an emergency. I think his kid isn't feeling too well, so he may have ran off for a second. I'll do a quick jump cut. Okay, it was in fact Stepan's son who is feeling somewhat ill, who woke up. Just making sure everything's all right. Had a quick talk with Rashid. He's somewhat frustrated with Uro. I can definitely see where he's coming from. He's just been applying so much pressure, and Stepan has been able to heal so much of it back. I can definitely understand the frustration. If Stepan is somehow able to get back in this game, it is going to be entirely off the back of the Uros. Not okay. Mostly off the back of the Uros. The equipments that are now back online also help, but the life gain has just been incredible. We see Scavenging Ooze coming out here from Rashid. I mean, he was just complaining about Uro, and then just finds the answer for it. Just the best Uro counter in his deck. Now, if Stepan has a Uro in hand next turn, he could. Can he? Yeah, if he has Uro and a land, he could try to just cast it and then escape it immediately after. That would mean that Rashid doesn't actually have the opportunity to eat the Uro itself, nor the mana to shrink his graveyard fast enough to answer it. But it would need to be exactly the untapped mana and the Uro right now. Sheets going back to 11. It goes up to 11. Yeah, it goes up to. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but. And if you watched the last video, I still don't actually remember the name of the movie where that quote is from. And if you're now sitting at your screen shouting at me, "Oh, how could you not know that movie?" Like, I'm sorry, okay? But it just goes up to 11, okay? That's all I gotta say about this. So Rashid's just eating more and more and more out of Stepan's graveyard, and looks like Stepan still has one creature. Skuz is also still getting bigger, and I think this is pretty much gonna be game one here. Yeah, that is a 7/7 that just gained you 5 life and stopped your opponent from ever getting back in this game. Now, Stepan does have 6 mana. He could try to equip a Jitte and a sword, but realistically, what are you doing with it? Still need a blocker for the Skuz. You're not blocking the Hexdrinker, so you're at a virtual 3 life here. And then there is a Dryad Arbor, a Plague Engineer, and a Script Ranger that just run you over. Okay, maybe not the best creatures for trying to run you over, but relevant. Relevant, definitely. Rashid could just start to... I mean, at that point, you're not killing Stepan anyway. He could maybe try to look for some sort of favorable trade using Maze of Ith to protect one of his creatures being blockers. Another card being eaten by Rashid here in Stepan's end step. I think that's gonna be game. Again, Stepan does not have a board wipe, so he has no way of answering this Hex Drinker here. None. And that is gonna be game one for Rashid here. And of course, as soon as I end this video, they decide, you know what, we're gonna try and keep going. Rashid's gonna play Once Upon a Time here. Still pretty sure this is over. Just doing it to torment me. I know you're watching, Rashid. I know you're watching, Stepan. You're just doing this now. They're good people. They wouldn't do that to me. I'm looking. I think Stepan is at 3, but they forgot to actually change the life totals. I'm just gonna assume they are. Stepan is at 3 here. But yeah, what Rashid just kinda doing script ranger things, trying to pad his life total, and Stepan is hoping for a miracle draw, but I mean, it's not an actual miracle draw. Gonna pick up the Batterskull here, and then put it back into play. I think this is during Rashid's end step. And then he could untap, equip both of his equipments, and attack with the lifelink. That would be 6 plus life gain from the Jitte. I guess. But you're gonna lose it anyway, right? Yeah, because Rashid still has the Plague Engineer as a blocker, which has Death Touch. So he can't actually attack here without immediately losing his attacker. So this is gonna pressure his ability to actually do something. Like it doesn't matter you get the life to survive the Hex Drinker, because you don't actually get enough life to survive the Hex Drinker twice. But he's gonna equip the sword to the bird and attack with everything. What is happening? What is happening? Now I'm guessing the equip to the Birds of Paradise is probably to make sure that it does actually connect, because The Jitte doesn't need to do damage to a player. The creature just needs to do damage. But the sword actually needs to do damage to a player. So I guess you could then force him to block with the Birds of Paradise. Instead, he blocks with the Dryad Arbor and then bounces it. It seems with Script Ranger. Now, because the Dryad Arbor got bounced, it didn't deal damage. No counters on Jitte, and now we do actually go to game 2. Game 2, we have happening here. We have Stepan on the play, but it seems Rashid wants to play Once Upon a Time as a pre-game effect. That's not exactly how this works. Alright, now Rashid casting it here during Stepan's upkeep. Stepan on a mulligan to 6 with Rashid keeping his 7. Very, very strange opening. Starting just upkeep Once Upon a Time. Gonna reveal a Plague Engineer. I think he's trying to get ahead of Days here. I think that's what's happening here. Days was a card we saw in game 1, even if only once. So I guess if you can, you should. That's a Noble Hierarch coming out from Stepan here. A Savannah and a Greensun Zenith gonna get a Dryad Arbor, and both players ramping on turn 1. Now, it is again worth mentioning Rashid has Plague Engineer in hand, which he could play next turn. I believe that is a Ponder coming out from... Yeah, there's a Ponder from Stepan here. Gonna keep his cards top. And now the question is Rashid gonna preemptively start dropping the Plague Engineer, trying to keep the Exalted triggers off the field? We also have Birds of Paradise coming down. Stepan's mana already pretty solid here. So, again, I'm not a Maverick player, but I would assume that dropping the Plague Engineer here is definitely an option worth considering. Especially since Stepan already knows it's there, he might try and bait it out, just keep his second Noble or second Burst of Paradise in hand. We see a Sylvan Library coming out from Rashid here. That's probably the better play here. Now, Rashid, of course, keeping open a mana to play around Days. Days, whether or not Stepan has it, is technically putting in work. Because every turn you play around Days, you basically lost a mana. So, just the threat of having it, which is, it's part of the reason why the card is just insane. And I'm not sure how well Delver is doing right now. I know Bant Control is doing pretty alright. I know there's this new Jeskai list floating around with Ragavan that is also playing for 4 days. So I think days might still actually be something they're looking at. Now, it's possible that days has actually reached brainstorm status, force of will status, just a part. It's a part of the identity of Legacy, and you can't actually ban it. But like, at what point do we say, okay, we have enough of these? You know. Meanwhile, we have Skyclave Apparition coming out from Stepan here, gonna get rid of the Sylvan Library. Burst of Paradise with an Exalted trigger, just some free damage coming in here. Yeah, Delver is pretty much, well, it used to be the ban discussion deck. Every time some new threat comes out, it's people are talking about banning something from Delver, whether because it's only in Delver or it's everywhere, but it's also in Delver. You know, Questing Beast coming out here for Rashid. That's gonna be a pretty good attacker here against Stepan. Yeah, this Questing Beast is really good here. Stepan has no blockers. Creatures with power 2 or less just cannot block the Questing Beast. And it has Vigilance, it has Death Touch, it has too much. It has Yu-Gi-Oh! Levels of text, which, if you've been watching for a bit, you'll know I used to play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! And big, complicated text boxes was not one of the positives of that game. But, you know. Now we have Rashid's favorite hero coming out here for Stepan. Going back to 17. Gonna wasteland one of Rashid's lands here. The Dryad Arbor, actually. Which is gonna be a bit careful. Questing Beast gonna get Swords to Plowshare, which is gonna put Rashid back to 23, but now he has nothing else going on. So this could be a problem. Attack coming in here. Going back to 20. Yeah, the discussion surrounding days is pretty much the should we sacrifice format health or format identity, which Daze isn't the only offender in this. Brainstorm is a big part of that. Wasteland, I would say you could technically make that same case for something like Force of Will, but I think in that case it's pretty clear cut. It needs to exist. I think most Legacy players would agree on that. Even the combo players would probably prefer to see it exist before they get a big old target on their head. Swords to Plowshares and Abrupt Negate gonna take care of the dorks here. Rashid just brute forcing through Stepan's mana here, which I'm kind of fine with. Like, Stepan still has the threat here, but Rashid now has mana. Stepan casting Brainstorm, and if that Brainstorm finds a fetch, then he may have to shuffle away cards that he doesn't want to shuffle away. That's that's a real possibility here. It's a very aggressive line, which I think in the long term is definitely gonna pay off for Rashid here. Yeah, there's the fetch. Whatever is on top of there's a chance he's just not gonna be able to keep them. We'll have to see. Knight of the Reliquary coming down for Rashid here. He has some number of lands in his graveyard. Not sure exactly how many, but there's no doubt in my mind we'll soon find out. Now, Stepan feeling forced to crack the Misty. Hopefully there weren't two really good cards on the top of his deck and he shuffled them away because he wanted to. There are currently 2 lands in Rashid's graveyard. I managed to overhear. Now, is Stepan gonna cast anything? A Stoneforge Mystic coming out. I think he did manage to shuffle away 2 dead draws, so that is at least something that is working in his favor here. The Mystic is going to find a better skull, and should that better skull come into play, Stepan does in fact have a way of staying in this game. For at least a little bit. If Rashid, however, manages to answer the Stoneforge Mystic here and now, then this game is not looking too hot for Stepan, and this might be semifinals, but we're not there yet, it seems. Yeah, we're still doing good. Seems I'm missing a bit of life gain, life loss here. Couple fetches. Seems Rashid is going for the make my knight as big as I can plan, which pretty good plan. Definitely nothing wrong with that. Thalia. Now coming out from Stepan. It's gonna make finding more lands than Stepan has right now quite difficult. Fortunately for Stepan, he seems to be drawing lands, so that is an upside. Wasteland probably not the best land to be playing in this situation, but it's still a land. It still makes mana. It's fine. Noble Hierarch coming out here, and it seems Rashid doesn't really get his payoff for attacking Stepan's land base, it seems. Stepan gonna swing in for 3 with the Exalted Trigger. Rashid decides to take the 3. A miscount? Might have forgotten the attack by the Knight of Reliquary. It's looking like that. An attack. I thought it was an activation. It was an attack. All right. Yeah, I know some people are probably sick of ban talk. While I personally think it's still good to discuss format health. Maybe directly jumping to bans a couple weeks after a new set drops isn't the greatest thing to do. It seems the format is still developing somewhat. So instead, I'd love to hear, what are you excited about? Are you excited about this Plague Engineer? I'm excited about this Plague Engineer. Why, I have no idea, but it's here. But yeah, what kind of cards are you excited about? What kind of decks are you excited about? Are you following some of the new Dungeons and Dragons spoilers? Yes, I know, spoilers again after a new set came out, but you know what? Just focus on whatever card looks sweet. That's all you gotta do. Just focus on the sweet stuff. And you don't know what the sweet stuff is? Don't worry about it. Somebody else will be sure to tell you what the sweet stuff is. All you gotta do is just write the Great Material River. Bonus points if you know that reference, by the way. But seems we got Better Skull here for Stepan and a Uro coming down once more. Uro, Euro. I want to say Euro. Maybe it's Euro. Maybe I should just say Euro. It sounds smoother. Like in Dutch, it's actually pretty easy. Like, I don't think I've ever heard a discussion of what the Dutch pronunciation is. It's Euro. Just done. But English, I think it's Euro. Just go with the money. Sounds better. I'm European, which means I play Euro. I mean, it sounds great, right? Sounds great. Okay, now I think it is a night activation. At least I really hope that it is. Now, is this in response to the attack trigger? In response to the attack from the germ? Or is this just an end step thing? It might be an end step thing. Wasteland coming out from Rashid here. He finds it off the Knight of the Reliquary. Is Rashid going for his mana base again? I think he is. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, no, go for it. Actually, this is Rashid's turn? No, this was during the end step of Stepan's turn. Wait, Rashid wastelanded Stepan's wasteland, and then Stepan was tapped. Of course, because he cast the Euro. He didn't have the wasteland to sack back. Okay, so both players here just losing their wasteland. Okay, that's fine. I think Rashid realized that he tried going for Stepan's mana base and it didn't work. Now, it's interesting because usually it's the Bant deck that does most of the doings. But Maverick seems to be doing most of the control doings here. So Greensun Zenith coming out, I think, with the mana floating, paying for the Thalia tax, puts it XS2. Yeah. Going for Scavenging Ooze. Besides, you know what? You've had plenty of fun with the Euro. Let's just get rid of that right now. Both of them gone. That Scavenging Ooze at 4/4, and Rashid going back up to 16. The Knight at this point is also pretty big, I imagine. So definitely looking quite threatening here. Ship I'm gonna fetch. And despite somewhat of a stalemate, I think it's mostly in favor of Rashid here, our Maverick player. Snow-covered island coming out for Stepan here. And yeah, what is Stepan doing here? Now, Sylvan Library. Wow, that artwork. My God. Okay. So Sylvan Library hopefully gonna be able to help Stepan find his out here. Now, I forgot to look at sideboards. What could Stepan have here? He has 3 Meddling Mage, probably at the best. 3 Carpet Flowers, don't do anything. 2 Surgical Extractions, probably not the thing I'm going to be doing here. 2 Flusterstorm, not very useful. 2 Ceremonious Rejection, don't do anything. 2 Veil of Summer, don't do anything. They do something, but it's not the best. And then a one-off Soul Guide Lantern, which might be pretty good against the Knighted Reliquary, but that's so narrow. I don't think that's what you want to be doing here. It seems Rashid again eating just away at that graveyard. 2 creatures among them. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, he still has 2 floating. Now he has 1 green floating. Casts Abrupt Decay on the library. Just a big old no button, and Rashid slamming that thing like it's a freshly baked bread. I don't know. What do you smack? There's some pizza dough, something like that. I don't know. I'm hungry. I need to get some dinner. I mean, I had dinner, just a late night snack. Some pizza with shrimp and some salmon, and some anchovies. Oh, I love anchovies. It's fantastic. Now, seems there's a bit of a discussion about how the mana was spent by Rashid. I think he still has 1 green floating. May have used it. No, actually they're in combat now. Yeah, the Knight of the Reliquary attacking being blocked by the germ, which means Japan is going back to 17. You know, there's one thing I've learned about Stoneblade this evening here, is that it gains a lot of life. For sure. Between the Batter Skull, the casting and recasting and attacking of Euro, having a bunch of just prime real estate for Source to Plowshares, yeah, you gain a bunch of life. That is definitely something that's happening here. Brainstorm here for Stepan. Gonna find a fetch, so he's gonna be able to shuffle away anything he might be unable to use. Something being exiled by Rashid here. He doesn't really care, he just wants to keep the graveyard small. All creatures are already out of there. Just want to make sure you don't accidentally go Euro into escape Euro, because that is definitely something you don't want to see here as the Maverick player, or as a Maverick player in general. Looks like we have another attack by the Knight of Reliquary here, as well as the Thalia and the Schools. Pretty good attacks. That Batter Skull is not going to be able to block this turn, but there is a Cyclave Apparition and Stone Force, but Japan decides, no, this isn't happening, and concedes. So congrats to our other finalist, Rashid. He will be playing our other semi-finalist from the previous game, and be sure to look out for that game in the future.